Hey guys, welcome back to the PXP podcast. I'm your host, Zach. And today I interviewed Shane Scott. He is one of the founders of the Precision Rimfire Outlaw Series that's gotten absolutely big. We cover that. We cover all sorts of stuff on this podcast. It's pretty fun. Shane and I are good buddies, so we have a little bit of history here. We talk tips and tricks and match format and rules. The shooting community, future plans of the Pro Series, and a little bit of personal stories kind of involved in this one. So this was a pretty good one. So hope you guys enjoy it and stay tuned for it. Out. All right, Shane, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you, Zach?
Oh, doing good here. Doing good. Just sitting at my computer, just slaving away on some work, and I got some pieces and parts of gun parts coming in today, so I was kind of throwing those on one of my guns, and
Yeah,
I,
man. Congrats on your new career and everything too. That's listened to your last episode, so congrats on finding happiness, man. I've known you for a little while now, and I think that's the biggest thing is happiness. We've talked about this before, but if you're not doing something you're enjoying anymore,
Mhm.
it's okay to move on and do other things and be happy. So glad you're finding your path, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that very, very much. It's just, yeah, I wish I would have done this a long time ago, but you just don't know until you do it. And I went with what I knew, and that was sticking with the PD as long as I could until I just couldn't do it anymore. But no, appreciate that. Life is 10 times better. So heck
Yeah,
yeah.
you seem a lot happier. I mean, like I said, I've known for a while, and you seem in a happy place and doing something you enjoy. So
Yep.
it's awesome to see the podcast back up and going, and
Hmm.
and your shooting classes and stuff like that. It's awesome. Very
Yeah.
excited to see.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that very much. Well, no, just give a little intro. Tell the people who you are, man.
Cool. So yeah, my name is Shane Scott. I am one of the original founders and now the owner and series coordinator for the Precision Rimfire Outlaw Series, or Pro Series for short. We're not the PRS Pro Series. I joked about this with Ken Wheeler, the owner of the PRS. I didn't even know the Pro Series of the PRS was a thing when we came up with this, but ours is an acronym. It's the Precision Rimfire Outlaws, or PRO Series. Um, we're a precision rimfire series that we started. Actually, the original name was Pro 406, Precision Rimfire Outlaws 406 for the state of Montana. Started with 3 clubs, and now the series has grown to the point where we're 50 clubs across the U.S. and Canada. We've gone from Precision Rimfire Outlaws to or Precision Rimfire Outlaws 406 to Precision Rimfire Outlaws uh, series or pro series as a whole now, and now we started it is an official company now, or business. So now it's actually the Precision Rimfire organization. We're still sticking with the Outlaws name, but we had to come up with an actual business now. This is getting quite big. But yeah, I started this with a group of buddies, Will Walton, who Tom Batrick out of Lewistown, who runs the Central Montana Shooting Complex Club, and Kyle Gibson out of Glasgow, Montana. He isn't really involved much anymore. Work has gone crazy for him, so he hasn't really been doing a lot of shooting. But that was the original start of how we got started with this. Um, yeah, that's kind of the little background on me. My background on myself is I'm a competitive shooter. I actually never touched a firearm up until probably 2020. So 5 years ago, right when the series started, it's my first time I ever touched a firearm. Hate to say it, I'm a dirty Californian, born and raised, and got the heck out of that state and moved to Montana. And ever since then, I've been kind of exploring other options and other hobbies, and competitive shooting was one of them. And um, fell down the rabbit hole hard on this in this sport, and yeah, it's been awesome. I'm loving what I'm doing. The series has grown, and we'll talk more about it. But yeah, that's kind of a little background on myself. So
Dude, yeah. No, you created something, or you guys created something freaking just phenomenal. It's just a God, it's so much fun too, and it was funny that I was more of the centerfire competition shooter, and you and Trevor drug me into the 22 stuff, and I was absolutely hooked like day one.
It's something about it, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I love centerfire shooting. I'm actually doing more PRS centerfire shooting, or PRS style, or the series out here is called the WPR, the Western Precision Rifle League, run by Pete. But I've been doing a lot more centerfire shooting as well, and I've gone down the rabbit hole recently. I'm getting in the reloading game and starting to get my dasher barrel spun up. And there's something to be said about centerfire shooting and PRS centerfire shooting that's just a blast, a good time. But rimfire shooting, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe the ammo cost, and way cheaper.
Hmm.
But there's something about it. I mean, I don't know. I think the community, both communities are great, but the community with the rimfire game is just, you show up, you bring a rifle, you go buy a box of ammo, factory ammo, and you shoot. And if you do crappy, well, that was $8, $8
Hmm.
in ammo. Or even if you're going high end comp stuff, I mean, okay, $15 in ammo, right? Like, tell me where you can go shoot a match, centerfire match, and shoot, 5, 6, 7 stages, and go, oh yeah, that was about $15 in ammo. It's like, no, that was hours and hours of reloading,
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
probably $100 in ammo and powder
Oh.
and bullets and brass and
Hmm.
and reloading equipment. And
Yep.
yeah, so
Dude,
there's something about it. So
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head right there, man. Because once I realized that I could just literally build a gun and just buy my ammo and just walk out on the range, and the ammo, yeah, like, a typical match is like, yeah, 15, or you'll buy like 2 boxes or 3 boxes or whatever,
yeah.
and it's like, oh my God, this is so much fun, and no ear pro, and, you're not out there all freaking day. And then on top of that, like, setting up the range is 10 times easier, you
Oh
know?
yeah. I mean, I'm so we'll talk about this more too, but like I'm a match director from the beginning, so I've hosted centerfire and rimfire matches, and enough for centerfire. I mean, I got tired of pounding posts on the ground. I went and bought myself a gas powered post pounder. I don't know if I told you this, but yeah, I just bought myself a gas powered post pounder for this coming WPR season, because I'm so tired of hitting shit in the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm making my life simple, man. It was quite expensive, but it's gonna save my back for sure.
Smarter,
But yeah,
not
I mean, setting
harder.
up for center fire, especially out where we're at, it's tough. The ground's hard,
Hmm.
especially this time of year where we're in the winter time. The ground's frozen solid.
Hmm.
Rimfire, walk out there. You know, there is some target stands that hit in the ground, but most of them I have are all target stands that just stand, quad leg or 4 leg stands. And oh yeah, this is a good distance. I'll measure it. Boom, 75 yards. Perfect. Set it down right there. Walk away. You don't have to hit in the ground. You don't have to do anything fancy. Just set it down.
Yeah, and those long shots, I mean, yeah, what are we out there, like 250 yards at most?
Yo,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, totally. It's just two different worlds that can kind of correlate too. I mean, it's the same. You're shooting the same positional stuff. You still have to have. I mean, you still have to be a good shooter and everything, and they correlate really well together as far as the skill. Um, but there's just something fun about shooting 22. I almost picked up a Huxworks 22 suppressor yesterday. Almost did it.
Ooh, I just got my 22 suppressor finally. I don't know if I've told you this the story, or I know I've told you this story, or geez, can't speak today. I know I've told you this. Oh my god, I've told you the story before.
Yes, you have.
Anyways, I had 3 suppressors that basically sat for God over a year
Hmm.
waiting to get, because of a place I got them through didn't turn in paper. Long story. Anyways, I got my 22 Thunder Beast suppressors back, and I threw it on my girlfriend's Voodoo with a threaded barrel on it, and it's been a fun little toy to mess around with. It makes it even quieter. You already don't need to wear ear pro, or well, you don't have to wear ear pro at a 22 match, but now it's like it's non-existent.
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
it's like shooting a pellet gun.
Yeah, I've heard some pellet guns that are louder than suppressed 22s.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Nice. Well, let's I'm gonna switch gears a little bit, keep us on track here. So dude, like, tell us, like, how did you guys come up with the pro series? Like, what inspired that?
So we a buddy of mine, Will Walton, kind of dragged me to a board meeting and said, "Hey, I need a tech guy." So my background's in tech. I have an IT business, and he's like, "Hey, I need a tech guy to come out with me and help me do a PowerPoint. I'm presenting to a board, shooting range board, and I want to get NRL 22 matches going." So people who don't know, NRL 22 is the national. It's actually changed now. It's the National Rimfire League.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they hosted monthly 22 matches all across the country, and they had a championship match every year. So we started with that. And what makes the NRL a little unique is they actually give you the course of fire that you have to follow. So they give you 5 stages, and they go, "Hey, your match is going to be 5 stages, and you have to do these 5 stages that we give you." Well, we in Montana, we can go, we have terrain. We're not just a flat box range.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the range out here are these crazy terrain stuff. So we can do uphill shots, downhill, into coulee, whatever we want. So we were looking up their course of fires. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I understand the purpose of this, but they had capped at 100 yards max. And it's like, well, we could easily shoot past 100 yards. But they designed their whole entire thing around 100-yard bay. 100-yard shooting bay at the average shooting range across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did our first match NRL, and we're like, this is cool, but we can do something way better. So we had reached out to some other clubs that were doing NRL at the time in Montana, and we're like, "Hey, what's your thoughts on the NRL and blah blah blah?" And a lot of them stopped. We were talking to them. They actually had stopped before we started NRL. That maybe they stopped a couple months before, saying NRL is not for us. We just kind of still do monthly matches, but it's own a little outlaw style stuff. So we were like, well, you know what? Why don't we come up with an outlaw series and just for the Montana guys, and we'll have a little championship match of our own and go from there. So that's what we started. Like I said, Kyle Gibson, Tom Batrick, Will Walton, and myself all started this 3-club series, and we had a little 6 months. I think started like in June. We had like a 6-month mini series with the finale in like February, which is a terrible month to do a championship.
Yeah.
And like first half of the day was fine, then dumped snow. And then after that, we kind of we had, I think it was like 30, 40 people show up. And it was actually, we saw the niche of like, we're onto something here. If we're getting 40 people just with people in Montana, and Montana's you live here, it's a big state, but not a lot of people. It's all spread out.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get 40 people at a rimfire match in February, I'm like, we have something. We can make this big. So I kind of took the lead on it with some help with the guys, but I kind of took the lead. And over the years, I still get help from some of the guys, but I'm kind of the main guy now. But I basically have now kind of grown this into, what it is today. We're sitting at, like I said, 50 clubs in 17 states and provinces, 2 different countries, US and Canada. And yeah, it's grown rapidly. We just found a niche with a lot of people who wanted to do something more outlaw style that didn't want to do the NRL monthly course of fire. Again, nothing wrong with the NRL course of fire, but it just didn't make sense for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hosting a monthly match and it's dumping blizzard in Montana but sunny in Florida, why are we being compared against the same scores? It never really made sense to me. So we kind of started a series where it's like your only points table is your club's points table. That's all that matters, and it's all local based. And then we have bigger matches, and we'll talk about that stuff later. But we kind of decided just to make an option for other people who wanted to do more outlaw style stuff, and that's kind of the niche we stuck with. And that's, as you can tell, it's worked. It's grown.
Dude,
And
yes.
people like it.
Man, it's an absolute blast. There was a whole year there when I started that I didn't even shoot any center fire. I was having so much fun doing rimfire matches that I was like, I'll shoot center fire later. I don't want to spend 10 hours reloading.
Not reloading, man. It's reloading. I remember talking to you specifically, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go this match tomorrow, but I'm 100 rounds. I gotta load 100 rounds." I'm like,
yeah.
"You're gonna load 100 rounds tonight? It's like 8 o'clock at night, and then we gotta leave at like 5 in the morning."
Yeah, I know.
If you want to go to the center fire match, you're like,
yeah,
"Oh yeah, I'll reload or whatever." And it's like, yeah. Now think of that same thing. Hey, you want to go to a match tomorrow, Zach? Yeah, sure. Let me grab a box of ammo. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Like, we're done. We're already done. We don't even have to do anything else.
Dude, exactly. We're done. And the funny thing is, too, is like, even if you do have flyers and shit with rimfire, which definitely happens, it's fucking, first off, it's rimfire ammo. Second off, it's factory ammo. It's just like, oh, had a flyer. That's 22 ammo for you. I mean, that shit happens. There's nothing you could do about it. Because with reloading with center fire stuff, if you have a crazy flyer, it's like, oh shit, what did I
what
do?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, like what did I miss? Did I not resize that specific brass? Like, oh shit, like, and it's with 22 stuff, it's out of your control. And it is what it is. Yeah, it
A
is just
hundred
so much
percent.
fun.
It's just a blast. There's a little more carefree to it, but there still is a lot of competitiveness and there's a big competition. Um, I will say, like you said with the Flyers, 100%. It's rimfire ammo. You know, Shit happens.
Hmm.
That being said, if you are a serious competitor, there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate that.
Hmm.
Sending your gun in for lot testing, going to the higher end Lapua ammos, you can get your standard deviation quite low. My non-lot tested Midas Plus standard deviation sub 5, and yeah, you'll get a flyer from now and again. But again, I'm paying more money for my ammo, but I also travel out of the country, so it's kind of that. I think it's a gateway drug to the centerfire world for sure.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people should just even if you're already doing centerfire, hop into rimfire and shoot rimfire as well. People will sit there, and make the excuse, oh, well, rimfire and centerfire are so different. It's not a good practice tool. I totally disagree.
I disagree as
Yes,
well.
centerfire. I think the big differences are in centerfire, target acquisition is a little different.
Hmm.
You're looking at farther distances. It's different, right? Recoil management completely different, right?
Yep.
Your rimfire is not jumping into my shoulder like a 7 SAUM is, or a six
Hmm.
five PRC, or even my dasher, right? Like it's not going to do the same thing. But other than that, building positions, build and break drills, your 10-second build and break,
Hmm.
movement, transitioning, um, trigger pulls, clock management, all that stuff. It goes over. It carries over. I've
Exactly.
gone and shot center fire matches, and I've had issues. Like I was using factory ammo at the time with center fire, and I had my issues there. But fundamentally, I was completing the stages quicker than most people. Which, I'm not saying
Exactly.
that's a good thing,
And
but
you
I
were
mean,
doing great at a lot of the matches that you and I both showed up to as far as center fire. You were doing really good, man. Like
yeah,
it
my
totally
big
correlates.
issue comes down to factory ammo at the end of the day. My factory ammo 6 Creedmoor was shooting about 3,100 feet per second.
Oh,
That cooks a barrel. Yeah.
yeah.
But
Talk to me
again, I
about
mean, like,
cooking barrels.
yeah, I know your barrel. I've seen the fire crack in your barrel. Not not
3,000
great.
rounds on a 6 Creedmoor.
Yeah, I think it's done for.
Yeah.
But it definitely, like, I talk to guys who just do center fire. It's like you've shot, maybe not you, but these people. They shot a couple matches. They maybe done, a couple days at the practice range shooting. Maybe altogether 1,000 rounds a year.
Hmm.
Dude, I'm 10,000 rounds a year
Oh
in
yeah.
rimfire.
Oh yeah.
So even though maybe I'm not doing the same recoil management and stuff like that, I'm still getting that trigger time.
Well,
I'm still
it's the
practicing my reps.
fundamentals of marksmanship both correlate to both of those disciplines, and
Yep.
that's what's going to make a good shooter is the fundamentals of marksmanship. There's little ambiances in between the two, like you already mentioned, like recoil management, target acquisition, and some minor ones here and there. But in all, like they both very much correlate with each other, so yeah, absolutely. No, 100% agree.
I mean, half the battle in these matches is mental game, right?
Hmm.
So if I can, you look at a race car driver, or the Blue Angels, right? They'll sit there and they'll close their eyes, and 10 guys will sit there pretending to fly a jet and all the procedures, eyes closed, just familiarizing themselves with this, what they're going to do, right? How they're going to perform.
Yep.
For center fire, I'm doing that with actual rounds, yes, with less recoil and with the rimfire, but I'm still building, breaking that position, balancing my rifle, getting on target, practicing my trigger pulls over and over and over again.
Hmm.
I mean, there's something to be said. I mean, yes, if you could do that 10,000 rounds in a year with centerfire, and you have the financial means to do that, yes, I think that's probably better
Hmm.
practice. But if you can't, and you still want to do your own thing, and still want to maybe compete in rimfire, you don't have to do 10,000 rounds, but if you're just getting trigger time, it's going to help you become a better marksman, center fire and rimfire, help you,
Absolutely.
become a better hunter. I mean, I know guys who got into the sport, rimfire specifically, and who go, dude, I've learned more this last year shooting rimfire then I have my whole entire hunting, career. And he's like, I can take a lot of the stuff I've learned and bring this in. I can become a better hunter off of this. I can bring this into my hunting world,
Hmm.
my just like you said, fundamentals, right, or marksmanship, right? Like, you know, a lot of this stuff apply. It all applies. It all applies to center fire and rimfire. So yeah, I think it's just a great skill to learn and a great practice. And honestly, I have so much fun with rimfire that I still think rimfire is always gonna be my primary over center fire. But
Dude,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just a lot of
I
fun.
mean, I'll tell you, man, ever since I picked up rimfire, it's been my primary. I mean,
Yeah, really has
I
it.
fell on the wayside as far as matches since April. The reasoning behind that. I'm
Yep.
not gonna voice that over the podcast, but yeah, man. And I was pretty much strictly just rimfire just because it was so goddamn fun. But
And the quality of matches, I mean, you've traveled with me. We've gone to
mhm,
St. George, Utah. We've gone to Wyoming.
mhm.
We've gone to some big matches. Dude, they're great.
Oh
Like
yeah,
people think, oh, Rimfire is gonna be less quality of a match. It's not.
not a
It's a good
chance in
time.
hell.
Yeah, St. George is probably one of the best matches I've been to. I mean, and I mean, you went down to that match with us. And that was a blast.
Oh man, it was so much fun.
So,
I was actually
no,
just
sorry,
looking
not
at
St. You didn't go to St. George though. Sorry, not St. George. Price, Utah.
Price, Utah. Yep,
Price,
yep.
Utah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
right
was just looking at pictures just literally yesterday about that. And I was like, oh man, that's so much fun. I'm like, whoever took this video of me, their phone sucks because this video sucks.
on.
I wanted to post it, but I don't know who it was, but it was iPhone to Android, and you know how they don't work. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that whole stuff.
all
Yeah.
that good shit.
That match was so much fun for the people listening. We went down to the largest one-day rimfire event hosted by Boyd Linder and Jared Howell, I think his last name. And it was what was it, the Rimfire Revival or something like that it
Yeah.
was called. And it was like, God, over 100 some people for a one-day match.
Hmm.
It's like, what, 15 stages or something, 13, 12? It was a lot of stages for a one day.
Yeah.
And it was in Price, Utah, this mega huge range. It was like shot like
Cowboy
a
town.
cowboy action town. And like we
Yeah.
utilized the cowboy action, but you shot, cowboy action super short distance. So we used the props from cowboy action, but shot past, the wall, past the facility out to the wild terrain.
Yeah. So you're
But it
like
was
shooting
so
from the
much
jail
fun.
cell up into the
Oh yeah, the
hills.
the shitter. You're in the crapper.
Yeah.
You're shooting. They have the outhouse that's open on one side, and
Yep.
you're shooting through the outhouse door. Then you open the door.
Dude, I
Dude,
bombed that
it
stage.
was.
Oh man, that was my first stage that I really like shit the bed on too. I'll
I think
never
that was
forget
the
that.
stage you made that mental error, wasn't it? When you
Yes.
jumped, you had to shoot a target order, and you went accidentally one target ahead,
Yep.
and then coming off the gun and looking at all those targets, it's really hard to see which target you were on. So
Yeah.
if you got out of order, it could really screw you. I remember that. Yeah,
Yep. And
yeah,
it messed
that was
with my head, and I just for the rest of the day it was kind of like hit and miss. Oh, then the double feeding and the failure to extract with the rimfire on two
You
different
got
stages.
remixed.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
you got
Rimex
remixed.
twice.
Yeah, for people listening, probably a lot of people are in the rimfire game. But so
Yeah.
for your big brand companies, you got Voodoo and Rimex. Both phenomenal companies. Both of them make custom actions for rimfire. If you're looking to buy once, cry once, those are the companies you want to go with. But it's funny, Rimex has been known. People can get Rimex, and what it is basically Rimex. I forget how they're designed, but basically, what is it? A control? What's
It's a
the
controlled feed.
there you go. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the round, if you get your extractor kind of damaged, if you short stroke your bolt, you can damage your extractor, and it's very hard to notice it's damaged,
Hmm.
but you will know when it is damaged because it's
Hmm.
hard to look and see it's damaged, but when it's damaged, you'll know on the range because of exactly what happened to Zach.
Yep.
You'll go to run the bolt and you will not extract all the round, and
Yep.
you'll
Like on
have
your
to sit there and pry the round out.
yep, like
So
your first or second round of the stage, and you're on the clock, and you're
you
like,
know.
"Fuck."
Yeah, and not to talk bad Armex, they're great companies. They're arms and make great actions. That's just their little flaw. Their
Mhm.
mags are perfect though. But then you go the other side, Voodoo, great company as well, but they don't have the nicest mags. Some people have great luck with them, some people don't. So they kind of have the feeding issue. So both of them have some of their issues, and there's ways to fix them.
Mhm.
I run primarily a Voodoo, but anyways, yeah, rimfire there is some Phoenix, right? I mean, if you're going and a cloner rifle like we have, both Remington 700 clone rifles, there's going to be issues because you're running a rimfire on a centerfire footprint. If you stick with the CZs and the and shoots
Mm-hmm.
that are designed in footprints around rimfire, you're probably not going to have the same issues we're having. But with that being said, we're doing this to also practice for centerfire. So we want everything on our rifles to be cloned of our centerfire
Yeah,
rifles.
my two rifles are pretty much a clone. I mean, I have the masterpiece arms, both chassis on my centerfire and my rimfire. So try to make them as
Yeah.
close as I could.
Actually, I know you wanted to talk about this. I can run through this real quick. So, real quick, my setup. I'll kind of go over my gear recommendation here and what I would recommend from what I'm running. So, I run a Voodoo V22 and an MDT ACC Elite. That Voodoo is running a 22-inch 1.2 straight taper barrel. It's a thick boy.
Yep,
She's thick.
she thick.
Uh, I'm running a spur mount with a Vortex Razor Gen 3 optic, a Trigger Tech 2-stage gold trigger.
Yeah,
Finally got
finally,
it.
I got on the gold bandwagon.
With the guys over at Trigger Tech, and they made me a custom trigger, and I am so happy. I love their 2-stage. I run their 2-stage. They don't really make gold 2-stages. You've seen around Black Friday, they make 1-stage gold triggers, but not 2.
Yep.
If they do make a 2-stage, it's always been the curve. I got a flat 2 gold. I am so excited. So that's what I'm running with that. I'm so happy. Finally, years in the making of that one. And then I'm running an MDT Skypod for my bipod, and that's kind of gonna run Lapua Midas ammo. So my rig altogether, most of it's been won. I won the action and a cert for it, and I've gotten percent off certs and a lot of things. So when you hear the price of my rifle, it's pushing what, $6, $7, $8,000 depending on if you got
Mm-hmm.
full price on the scope. But I didn't pay that. But with that being said, that is the buy once, cry once option.
Yep.
For people who are looking to get into the sport, you can bring your 1022, your CZ, your Bergara B14R, BMR, even shoot Savage or
Who's the national champ 2023 that won? He won with
Zane Herman, a good buddy of mine. Zane Herman
yeah.
won the NRL 22 National Championship in 2023 with a factory Tika.
Yep, factory. There you go. It's the nut.
Factory Tika.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the nut behind the bolt, boys.
Yep. Yeah, he is definitely a nut for sure. I'm good buddies with that guy. He's a good guy, but yeah, you don't have to have the best gear to win, right? Like, I mean, all these guns are going to shoot well. Zane, like I said, won with a factory Tika and an Athlon scope, and all he did was he sent his gun in for lot testing and had some good ammo behind it. But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, factory. I mean, it shows. I mean, he was on Team USA. He's probably one of the fastest shooters I know. But just about being fast, accurate, building a good position. I mean, those are good trigger pulls. That's what makes you a good rifleman and marksman. So
Exactly.
it's not about the gear, right? It can help, and you can buy so many impacts, but at the end of the day, it is you, the shooter, at the end of it. And
especially when it gets to that level, I mean, yeah, guys aren't really dropping shots at all. It comes down to the nut behind the bolt and who's the actual better shooter. Yeah, you could buy a couple impacts here and there and have some gear help you out and make things a little bit more comfortable, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's the shooter for sure.
And the biggest thing is mental game.
Oh, it is. It's definitely a big mental game.
To dive down like on that side from kind of taking a step away from here real quick from talking about the pro series, but from me as a competitor, I mean, I've gone to nationals for the last 3 years, and for me, it's all mental. I can shoot probably as well as majority. I mean, again, I'm not saying I'm the same standard as these guys, Zane Hermans or Jason Nedveds and Tyler Orths and Justin Carbones. I mean, they're just more consistent, and they're obviously a better shooter than I am. But I've beaten some of them. Like anything can happen on any given day. But I think the biggest difference is their mental game is just so strong.
Oh, dude,
On a
for
1-day
sure.
match, I'm pretty solid. On a 2-day match,
Hmm.
it's mental fatigue. It's just staying
They,
in it. It's
yep,
a whole different ballgame.
they have it down, man. They're able to figure out how to control their thoughts, how to control everything is so consistent with those guys. Very good dudes to learn from for sure. And
Oh,
pick their
100%.
brain and all sorts of stuff. As far as uh mental awareness in a match, why don't you touch on the story about me when I didn't eat before a match? I think it was just a one day, wasn't it?
Yeah, so well, you guys want to hear some inside dirty gossip on Zach here. So here's the real truth about Zach. Zach gets hangry. This typical Snicker commercial of you're hungry, eat a Snickers, right? Not yourself. That's Zach. I won't go to a match with Zach anymore unless I have snacks, or his wife has provided some type of food or reimbursement for food to pay for him to get snacks. Because Zach is not Zach, or when he is hungry. The amount of mental mistakes he makes when he's hungry is comical. And then you give him some food, and then he cleans the stage. You're like, oh, so all it took was a McDonald's breakfast sandwich, and you could do fine. So, yeah,
Oh man, that was
I
so
don't I
funny.
don't get it with you. Yeah, I
I
just
think
don't get it.
I think that stage of that day, I think it was my very first stage of the day.
It was
And
the first stage this day you bombed, you
it
butchered,
was
and then
the
your wife brings you a,
worst.
a sandwich.
Oh my god, it was the worst stage that I've ever done. And I remember walking down, and Matt Greenfield was looking at me. And he's been on a prior podcast, and he looked at me and he goes, "Are you okay? Like, is something wrong with you? Because I've never seen you bomb a
He
stage like
thought your
that."
gun was broken. He thought maybe you had lost vision in both eyes. I mean, he thought something was majorly wrong with you. We were considered taking you to the hospital after that one. But yeah, and then
Yeah.
you got food in your system, and you're like, oh, clean, 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 having a great day. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Note to self: if you ever get the company or get have Zach accompany you to a match, give
Hmm.
him food, bring
Yep.
snacks. He
Bring
likes
snacks.
jerky.
Yep.
He's
Preferably,
basically a
preferably
kindergartner in an
some.
adult body.
Yep, exactly. That's no shit. Preferably McDonald's breakfast sandwich. That'll hold me off for about 4 or 5
Yeah,
stages.
yeah. That's good. You might bring a couple to get them through the whole day, but yeah.
Oh shit, that's great. So, as far as equipment recommendations for new shooters, why don't you dive down into that? And yeah, tell the guys that are listening to this that haven't shot 22 matches, or they're just looking to get into precision shooting. What exactly do they need to just show up to the range and start shooting?
So the really cool part about rimfire and why I like rimfire is, you want to get in a center fire shooting, you want to go to a center fire match. You can't really just show up and go, hey, can I do you have a loaner rifle? Can I borrow your gun? Some series do, some matches do, but it's a lot harder to go up to a random guy and be like, can I borrow your $8,000 rifle or whatever it is? Most guys are running high end competition stuff.
Hmm.
Go up to a match and be like, and also can I shoot $100 in your ammo and all the time you put into reloading that ammo? It's kind of hard to convince someone to do that.
Yeah.
So for rimfire, what I would recommend, if you want to get into this sport, go to the NRL's website, go to our precisionrimfireoutlaws.com website, go to the PRS website, find a club that's shooting monthly rimfire matches near you, contact the match director and go, hey, I want to get into the sport. Can I come out and one, watch? And two, do you have a loaner rifle that I could possibly use to shoot a match? 90% of the time, they're going to say, you're not going to watch. You're going to come shoot the match. And we're
Hmm.
going to give you a loaner rifle and ammo, and you're going to come shoot. The community is just great. So a lot of them just tell you to come out, bring whatever you have. They'll tell you when you get there what not to bring back, what to bring back, what you need. But they will usually put something in your hand and go, this is basically the starting rifle we'd recommend, or this is the high-end rifle we'd recommend, or they'll work around with you, your budget and your price range and help you build a rifle to do this sport. But honestly, if you have a 10-22 sit in the back of your closet, or a CZ or a Ruger RPR, or just some type of 22 rifle, bring it out. As long as you have, I would highly recommend 6 to 24 power. If you got something that's up to 12 power, it's possible, but I really wouldn't recommend it. And just being some of the distance stuff you can get away with the 12 power, but if you start to get past 100, it gets a little tough.
Yeah,
But if
targets
you
are
just had
small.
yeah, exactly. But if you just had a 10-22 in your closet with a Diamondback tactical on that thing, bring it out. bring a box of your CCI ammo, whatever you got laying around, preferably subsonic. Highly recommend subsonic. Doesn't sound like it makes a big deal. I'm not gonna get into the science behind it, but subsonic ammo is the way to go in rimfire world. If you run supersonic stuff, you're going to have a lot of issues with popping and it kind of diverting different directions. Again, not in the science of that. There's a lot of stuff information about that, but
In and out of
what
transonic.
I'd recommend, yeah, but what I'd recommend for sure is bring what you got. Um, and come on out and just shoot a match. You'll learn so much. You'll see what you've done wrong your whole life. You'll see
Oh yeah.
all those hunting positions you've built over the years. You're like, oh, that's terrible. Why am I doing this? That's not,
Hmm.
getting into your natural point of aim stuff that, people have been doing wrong for the whole time. And, lifting your left elbow or your knee instead of your right, or lifting your right knee instead of your left knee. I mean, again, you get really deep into fundamentals here, but there's a lot of things that people have done wrong for so long that the first thing I'd recommend is come out to a match and shoot it and whatever you got and come out again and each time get something new or start building a rifle and trust me, you'll get sucked in this rabbit hole, down this rabbit hole so quickly.
Hmm.
It will really bring you there.
It'll piss off your wife or your husband.
Oh, 100%. Or whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that, guys, if you're wanting some professional instruction, reach out on my website, precisionxproductions.com. And I do one-on-one lessons and I put on courses as well. So keep your eye out there.
Yeah, they're really good courses. He's actually putting on a hunting one coming up, and it looks very awesome. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, yeah, I am too. It's going to be a good one. Shane's going to be helping me out with that, and yeah, just something a little different. And pretty much everyone here that shoots on the range, 22 or centerfire, they're hunting. So why not make a course that's designed and oriented towards hunting? I think it'd get some good reviews, and I think people would enjoy it. And yeah, be a good time.
I think if anyone watches your video of you getting your moose in Alaska, we'll see how all the practice and hard work that you've done, puts in place, and you can really see how good fundamentals can and make or break a hunt. And yeah, honestly, I think all you have to do is show that video of you just dropping that moose 3 shots with 308, just boom, boom, boom. That thing just
Yep.
dumped. I mean,
Dumped him right in his
how,
tracks. I was
yep.
not wanting to let him get any further from the river than he already was.
Oh yeah, I showed it to a buddy. He's like, "Why did you shoot it 3 times?" I'm like, "Do you want to go chase that moose through that swamp?"
Yeah, exactly.
He was going to shoot that thing, and in there, your shots were clean. I mean, it wasn't like you're
Mhm.
just wounded him every time. I mean, you were hit him in the vitals every time, and you were
Yep.
just trying to drop him.
Yep.
And it's a big animal, so yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah,
It was
exactly. That
really cool to
that
see.
comes down to recoil management, and all the stuff that we train for comes down to that one little moment. That 30 seconds where you see the animal, you range it, you have a series in your head on how you're going to do things because you've done it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and that's what it comes down to, man. Is just making those good shots when it counts because you don't want to wound an animal and let it go, and yeah, so train.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Pro Series, man. Match format and rules. I don't want to dive deep down into like the nitty-gritty and the policies and procedures and all that good stuff of it, but give a I guess just discuss the format of the Rimfire Outlaw matches and a little bit of the rules and what makes it unique compared to other shooting competitions. You've kind of already touched on it, but let's dabble back into that a little bit.
Yeah. So, if anyone's familiar with the PRS style of shooting or precision rifle shooting, basically with the Pro Series and how our series works, we leave the course fire up to the match director, but the average, let's just kind of, I'm not, like I said, not get into the nitty gritty and talk about every match, but let's just give you a basic, broad understanding of how this format works. Typically, it's 5 to 10 stages for a match. Your distances are typically 25 yards out to 250 typically max. Some ranges will go farther, but for a competitive match, typically you're not going to go much farther than 250. Not saying that the rimfire isn't capable of going past 250. There was a match called the King of the .28 mile. I think it's like 500 and someone yards, and they can actually hit that with their 22. But For the most PRS style matches, we're shooting 25 to 250. Targets are, smallest targets, a quarter-inch target. It's tiny. And then you can get out to 12-inch targets, if not some bigger, depending on how far we're going. But they're all appropriate sizes. But that's kind of the basic there. Your time is typically going to be anywhere from a minute 45, minute 30 to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, depending on the stage, the region, the country you're shooting, depending on the match format, so on and so forth. Most targets are going to have placards next to it, letting you know, like a target sign, like, hey, this target 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. Some ranges don't do that. They use color coordination instead and stuff like that. Those are more field style matches. But that's kind of basic on that. The sport's all about position building. So typically how this is going to work is you're going to have a prop on that stage, or multiple props on that stage, and maybe you'll from position one you'll shoot target one twice and then move to position two and so on and so forth. Typically it's about 10 to 12 rounds per stage, sometimes a little bit more. Again, all depends where you're shooting. There is some prone involved and some bipod usage involved, but a lot of us in the sport talk about bipods almost becoming glorified kickstands in the sport,
Hmm.
but they're still used. I've used my Skypod double pull quite often at matches. Not as much as you'd think. This isn't belly style match stuff, but it is used. Um, Other than that, I mean, it's kind of the basic for a match. I mean, typically I said you're running 5 to 10 stages. It's going to probably take you 2 to 4 hours to shoot a match on a weekend, and yeah, it's kind of the basic. If I had to give you a really basic rundown of how a match is laid out, that's kind of how I would do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We've it's like beating a dead horse here, but it translates directly over into the PRS style matches and stuff where you're position building, and it's all about the fundamentals of marksmanship, bone support, muscular relaxation, and natural point of aim, while building these non-conventional shooting positions. Some of them are tricky, where you have in a lot of it comes down to as well, especially when you go to these national matches, you're not allowed to touch any of the props or anything to kind of feel to see how wobbly they are and everything. So you have to really look at the prop and identify where you're going to put your feet, where you're going to put your bag, where you're going to put your gun, orient your body towards the target, and then also have the sequence of the shooting order in your head memorized. So it's
Oh, you
really
can write it down too, but yeah, memorize is key, right? Like
yeah.
you're gonna run down and memorize it, but it's not like you're completely blind out there. We do allow something called dope cards. You are allowed to write down like a
Yes,
dope
correct.
card or an armband, some notes. But
Yeah, thank you
yes,
for
for the
that
most
correction
part,
there.
you are trying to memorize this.
Yeah. The best that you could do is actually memorize the stage, so that way you're not having to take time to look at your dope cards and everything, because you're not going to be able to remember your dope for every shot, of course. But trying to remember the sequence of the targets for sure. And a lot of these they can get pretty tricky for sure. Where there's a lot of targets out there, and you have to try to remember the order. And if you can't, you got to refer back to your handwritten notes or whatever. Doing all this on the clock, I know it sounds hard, but it's just so much fun. And by the end of your very first like weekend comp or whatever you decide to go to, you're going to be a 10 times better shooter than you were when you walked onto that field.
So 100%.
um Another thing I wanted to touch on, Shane, was the community building. I guess let's touch a little bit on this how the series fosters a sense of community among the competitors and the importance of camaraderie in shooting sports.
Um, yeah, I mean the community itself in the rimfire, any type of shooting sports world is awesome. I don't know, something about rimfire, the community is just, I think, even better.
Yeah.
I don't really see drama. You don't really see the bickering. Everyone's there to help each other. I mean, even at so at this sport in centerfire, there's something called the USPRA. Basically, it's our U.S. team. So we have a U.S. team. Not we as in myself, but the country has a U.S. team that goes and competes with other countries every year, or every other year. That's every 2 years. Rimfire and centerfire alternate. I mean, even these guys who are going to worlds, right, and are competing against other countries will be sitting there helping each other. Like it's crazy to think that in such a competitive environment, that people representing the country are still helping each other.
Mhm.
And that's even just win calls, if that's, recommending like a strategy for that stage. This sport is just so helpful to each other. Everyone wants each other to succeed. Um, it is still competitive. I'm not trying to make it one of these things like, oh, it's a participation trophy. Everyone's out here patching on the back, hippie IO type thing. But it's just the community is just awesome. I mean, I've
Mhm.
met some really good friends through it. I travel over the country and I have buddies across the country that I'm like, oh, I'm going to this town. Oh, I'm going to that match too. Or, oh, I live here. Come stay with me. I mean, you meet so many people in this sport. Everyone's so helpful. I mean, well, shoot, we've been to matches before where like you needed to borrow a dope card here. Let me grab an extra dope card for you, Zach. Shoot my dope card, or here's an extra dope card for you. Or, oh, I left my bipod. Oh, because someone, oh, I'll borrow your bipod. Or, just it's super dusty at this match. Hey, you need a lens cleaner. The community is just awesome, man. I mean,
Mhm.
I think the camaraderie in the sport is just so awesome. Um, I mean, just as much as me, we've met so many good people through this sport, that this community is awesome. It's a great community.
Yeah. Little story on my very first match. um, my background, law enforcement sniper, and this was like 4 years ago or so, and it was a center fire match. I was just bringing my work gun. Well, it technically my personal rifle, but qualified on it for work, and didn't really I didn't have a whole lot of confidence as far as the rifle system, but coming with the background as a sniper and precision shooting and all that stuff, I thought I was going to do really well. And I show up and I'm seeing all these hot rod, 6 Creed cartridges and 6 millimeter cartridges and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh man, what's going on here? And it's just your average Joe that absolutely loves shooting. And it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer, it could be a garbage man, it could be a teacher, it could be, whoever. And
Oh yeah, you
I
got people from all different backgrounds.
all different backgrounds. And I show up, and it was known that this was my very first match. I made it known to my squad, and I squatted with, 7 or 8 different guys. There was like 75 people here at this match. And I very, very quickly gathered that I sucked. And it was awesome because every single guy in that squad was I think he was a class A shooter. I was unclassified at the time, and every single one of those guys wanted me to do so freaking well. It was incredible, man. They like immediately made friends with me, wanted me to share their gear with them. They were giving me tips, they were giving me all sorts of stuff, just literally made me feel at home. And by the end of that day, they were all rooting for me and all sorts of stuff. By the end of that day, I had every single one of their numbers, and I keep in contact with them, and it was just great, man. And like that was it for me. I went back to my house and started forking out the funds to build myself a custom gun. And yeah, it was just great, man. I was absolutely hooked, and that was the start for me. That just shows you you're competing against each other, but when it comes down to it, no one really cares. Like everyone's there to
It's
have
almost like
fun.
golf. You're competing against yourself at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like you're competing, but it's like you're trying to get your best score, and it's a big game in your own head. And like you said, you said you sucked. Well, you didn't really suck. Coming from a law enforcement background, and we've talked about this before. Shooting is just a small part of what you're doing.
Mhm.
For the sniper team, and also usually it's one target.
Yeah.
Usually you're not going after 10 different bad guys in 6 different positions in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
You're sitting
exactly.
for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours sitting on a guy like, all right, well, what do I do? Just waiting for this guy to make a move, right?
Yep.
So like for you going from that to and being really good at your job and then coming to competitive shooting and you go, oh, shoot, I suck. It's like, we've talked before. You don't suck. You're a phenomenal shooter and a phenomenal coach and instructor. But competitive shooting is a totally different ball game than
Yep.
law enforcement or military. I mean, I've seen this a lot. There's some big centerfire matches where they'll have the military law enforcement division. These guys come out, and they'll bring their gas guns and
Yep.
centerfire, of course, I'm talking about. And they'll come out and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm a great shooter." Da da da. It's like, yeah, you are probably a really good shooter in the military, and don't get me wrong. But now you're going against guys who don't do this for work. They do this for fun. They do
Yep.
this for hobby. They're putting
Yeah.
not this isn't their, oh, they're getting paid to do this. They're paying, they're doing this out of their own pocket, so they better, put every effort into it. So they'll
Yep.
come out and then they'll whoop your ass, and you're like, oh shoot, do I
Yep.
suck? It's like, I don't suck, but competition is a whole different ballgame.
It's a
This
totally
is,
different ball game.
oh yeah,
And
totally
it's
different.
just so much fun. And the cool thing is that it rounded me as a marksman so well. Like that translated very well into what I was tying up the loose ends as far as the marksmanship portion into the law enforcement sniper stuff. And I actually began teaching a lot of the fundamentals of marksmanship and everything that I learned, like positional shooting and stuff, from competition into the law enforcement sniper environment. And the response was really good. Positional shooting was great. Because typically, snipers, they, like you just said, they have one target. But when you're training on multiple targets and multiple different positions and stuff constantly, when that day comes when you only have one target to focus on, and it just makes everything so much easier because you're training harder than you're working.
Yeah, it's better to overtrain, right? So then when the real situation happens, it's a cakewalk to you,
And
right?
exactly, and that
It's
translates well over into the hunting realm as well. You're training 10
100%.
times harder out on the range during competitions and stuff than you are hunting.
Well, like I said originally, I didn't touch a firearm until 2020. So for me, this is my first year hunting. So I went hunting this last year, this last hunting season, and they talk about like, oh, you're gonna have the deer shakes, or the deer buck fever, and you're gonna be, you're gonna be hiking all over and da da da. It's like, okay, yeah. And when I got on my deer, I was calm as can be. I I didn't have a shake in the world. I had my spotter next to me. He was giving me, call outs about distance from me, and then, ready to go. And took my first shot, hit it. My rifle was a little off. Um, I ended up looking back, and some of my action screws were a little loose. My own fault. But gun was great. Vertical, just left and right was way off, like 6, 7, 8 inches off. Um, and it's like, all right, you hit it. He's kind of stumbling. He kind of lay down and he was like, you want to send another one? And I'm like, yep, I'll make the correction. And another shot, boom, hit the vials and dropped him. And, it's just, th- the competition side of that really helps, honestly.
Hmm.
Like, I didn't have any shake, nothing. And to me, taking those fundamentals I learned from precision shooting in the competition realm and putting that and implementing that into the hunting world was, I think, just a huge beneficial, um
And that was your
just
very
very
first hunt.
beneficial. Oh, 100%. Yeah, very first time.
Yeah,
First
so
day hunting.
yeah, very first day hunting, and you were able to apply what you have learned in the competition world into hunting. And you mentioned there that you didn't have the shakes, you weren't getting the quote unquote buck fever. Your training probably kicked in. And your
Oh,
training as
100%.
far as the familiarity with what you were doing as far as putting a bullet where you wanted to put it. And that just comes down to, and you know what, competitions can do that too. Where my very first match, I was pretty nervous, getting up in front of a bunch of people and thinking I was going to do great, and I quickly learned that I wasn't. You can get the shakes a little bit from competitions and stuff. Usually you could shake them out after the first stage, but you don't get that opportunity to shake them out after the first stage when you're hunting. It's there, and that's your
Yeah,
only
if you
opportunity you
if
get.
you miss or you nick that animal, it could be a whole different ball game.
Yeah, exactly. You only get one opportunity for sure. Um, let's dive back into a little bit to the Pro Series, man. What are the future plans for the Pro Series?
So, like I said, we started with 3 clubs in Montana, and we've almost doubled every single season, and now we're on our fifth season, fifth season, with 50 clubs now. So, my future plans is just keep growing the series. We've had some talks from some guys actually from New Zealand and Australia, so I might pick up 2 more countries, which would be really cool. But just growing this thing as large as possible. Um, we're a free series, so that's I should have prefaced that from the beginning. We don't charge for our membership, or submitting scores like some of the other leagues. This is kind of all done, run volunteer, like basically just volunteer. I volunteer my time, and a couple other guys help with some back end stuff. But Brody Hetland and Jake Salyer both help with a lot of the back end stuff, and we just donate our time for this, and you know, we just want to see the sport continue to grow. More people shooting, more monthly clubs shooting. I mean, that's our goal at the end of it. We have started up something called the Regional Series, which is a paid $40 membership. It is designed for the people who want to travel and get more of a harder match feel and preparation for the championship. But again, that's all optional. You don't have to do those. They're designed for the people who are willing and wanting to travel and want another route and opportunity to go to matches like that. Yeah, just to see the sport grow, man. And we've put on a championship match every year, and uh, last year we went to a 2-day finale, and it just grows more and more in size. We had around 100 people, I think just over 100 people last year, and it was hot, but it was a fun 2-day match. And this year, actually, the gentleman Jason Nedved, who won the NRL National Championship last year, is actually going to be our match director, and he's hosting the finale June 21st and 22nd in Gregory, South Dakota. We just announced that the other day. But yeah, it'll be another 2-day finale. In the past, we've had title sponsors such as Leopold. Actually, Leopold's been a title sponsor for the last few years. So we, usually have big prize tables and big sponsors involved. I can go through a long list of sponsors, but Leopold, Vortex, MDT, Trigger Tech, Athlon, you know, uh, geez, Timney, Accutech, Atlas Pipe. I mean, just tons and tons of companies that have been sponsors throughout the years, and have sponsored these events. And we have, I think our prize table was like 160 some thousand in prizes last year. And these matches, these big finale matches, become really big and a really big draw for a lot of people. So just our future, our goals is just to continue doing what we're doing and growing, and putting on bigger and better matches, and just reaching more and more people, man. It's kind of the end goal, right? More and more shooters, more people in this sport, bigger community.
Yep, exactly. No, and it definitely hasn't stopped. It seems like every other month or whatever I see on Facebook on the Pro Series webpage, new club, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. So no, just
Yeah, we
lots of good
announced like
stuff.
7 clubs in the last week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
yeah, in the
crazy.
last week, there we go.
Yeah,
Holy
we
shit.
no joke, every single year we have doubled in size.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we have a club farthest northwest up in like Smitter, Canada. I mean, way up in British Columbia, almost touching Alaska. And then we have, far east. We have a club outside of Toronto in Canada, and then everywhere in between in the states, from Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, Illinois. I mean, Wisconsin, everywhere. I mean, we just picked up a Utah club that we should be announcing here in the next couple of days. I mean, we're just growing like wildfire, man, and it's really cool to see just more and more clubs involved in this sport. So
That's just great, man. Super super happy just to even be a part of it, and yeah, just absolutely pumped. That's good stuff for sure. Well, we're coming up here on an hour, man. You got anything else that you want to share with the people? If not, just let people know where they could reach out to you, and yeah, give your a little bit of your contact information, some social or emails or whatever.
yeah, so I'll kind of do two things. So first, yeah, socials. Our website's precisionrimfireoutlaws.com. A little long, but kind of spelt it out there. You can email me at shanescott@precisionrimfireoutlaws.com if you have any questions about how to join the series, or come to our website. All the info is right there under the info category. You can see rules, sign up your club, sign up for a free membership, to shoot the matches, and so on and so forth. As of the series, that's pretty much the gist of us, like I said. But honestly, I would say the big thing I would say to everyone listening is, if you're interested in this sport, Doesn't matter what series it is, the NRL, PRS, us. Go contact your local match director that's hosting matches and just get out and bring whatever you got and go shoot a match. I'm telling you, you'll learn so much and you'll have such a good time that you will for sure be back. And if you don't ever go back, I would honestly, there might be something wrong with you because I just don't see it is so addictive. It is so competitive. It's so much fun. Um, it's a gateway drug to center fire. So, careful. You might end up with a whole reloading setup and down that rabbit hole. But yeah, just get out. You'll become a better shooter. You'll become a better, hunter. It's really going to help you and you're going to have a good time doing it. So your wife might not like it, like you said, and you might spend a lot of money. But yeah, you just get out and shoot, man. Get
Yep.
out and shoot.
Get out and shoot. That's awesome. Awesome, man. Well, appreciate you being on the podcast. And then once we finish this up here, just go ahead and stay on the line for me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Would very much appreciate it, and share it as well. And that's pretty much it. We are out. Later.
Peace.